Hello everybody, welcome back to an EF Ultimate Break video. I am here today because we are going to answer all of your questions, and by we, I mean myself, my wine, and my Hawaiian pizza that's cooking in the oven. This video is coming from my brand new apartment in Washington, D.C. So if you want to see more than just EF videos, subscribe because I'm posting all about my time here in DC, my new job, living in a new apartment, roommate life, all the fun things, so you can follow along for those as well. Anyway, let's get into it. What kind of luggage did you bring? Making sure to have enough space for souvenirs, but also don't want to be lugging around heavy bags. So for anyone who doesn't know, I went to Italy, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland in September, October 2021. So for that trip, it was 11 days, and I took one checked bag, and then I had a tote bag for my carry-on. That worked out really well for me. It wasn't too heavy. I didn't struggle with taking it to the bus or carrying it upstairs or anything. So I would say go with one checked bag and then do a backpack or tote bag, or if you really need to, then a smaller duffel bag for your carry-on. What airline did you fly? I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but whenever we flew Delta, and it was awesome. Their airplane meals were so good actually, and they fed us so much too. I think we had dinner, a snack, and breakfast. It was a lot of food and it was really good. So I don't know if everybody flies Delta. There were a number of EF people on our flight that we had kind of oh, were you on the trip with us? Or they were on different trip, the same trip but in a different group. So we were able to kind of linger around them and not be alone with that. What was the first thing you did when you landed? Do you need to go to immigrations? How do you get to your hotel? Do you meet your tour director at the airport? Lots of things going on there. Before you even leave the country, you are going to be put into contact with your tour director, and they are going to send you so much information about how the plan is going to work from when you land to how you meet with them. For us, we landed, we got our bags, we went through customs, then you have a location in the airport where you're set to meet. So she had sent us pictures, described to us where it was. So myself, my friend Darian that I traveled with, and one guy, Isaac, who we had met on the flight, we all went to the spot together, and we were the first people to arrive. So we actually were there for about, I think it was an hour, maybe an hour and a half, because other people from our group were landing shortly too. So half of our group landed in the morning, and we all met at the airport. The tour director met us in that spot, and then we left, took the bus to the hostel. It's nice when you're that first group landing, because then we had a few hours to explore around our hostel. Some people exchanged money, and we just kind of hung out. During that time, the tour director goes back to the airport because there's a second group that normally arrives in the afternoon. So they try to make sure that your flights are close together so that you're kind of arriving in one group or two groups. And no one's there alone or has to get to the hostel by themselves. If anything happens with canceled flights or delayed flights, you're in direct contact with your tour director as well as EF to get those things arranged and to make a plan for your arrival. So you're never left stranded. You're constantly in communication with them, making sure that everything's gonna run smoothly, even if there's a little hiccup in the plan. Where do you exchange dollars for euros? I did it at my bank before I left. I just wanted to have it done and ready to go, and I also budgeted the trip really strategically, so the money that I pulled out for euros was the money that I had, and when I spent that, I was not spending any more money. So that's what I did. A few people did exchange once we got into those countries. My only thing is I really recommend not doing it at the airport. From what I've seen and what I've heard from other travelers, the airport has the highest fee for exchanging. So try to avoid that at all costs. Were there any solo travelers? Is it okay for solo female travelers? There were actually so many solo travelers in our group. There were 16 or 17 of us, and my friend Darian and I went together. There was another pair of friends. There was a husband and wife, and there was a group of 4 girls that came together. Everybody else was solo. Somebody asked how easy is it to make friends, so I'm gonna kind of pair these questions together. But me, Isaac, and Darian immediately were friends from the airport waiting to head to the hostel. Then we met Ashlyn and Jessica. They were also solo travelers that we roomed with a lot, as well as Esme, another solo female traveler. And we are really close with them. Darian and I are actually going on another trip with Ashlyn in 2023. We already have planned. Everybody felt safe the whole time. It was really great. I would totally do a trip by myself, but luckily, you know, my friend Darian, she loves to travel too, so we're pairing together. But you were gonna make such fast friends, especially because you're rooming with these people in the hostels, and you're sharing this experience, and so it's so hard to describe. But when people go on these trips and when you're going on EF, even if you're not an extrovert, you're going because you want this shared experience, and you want it to change your life, and so does everybody else. So because of that, you just have this open-mindedness. You want to learn, you want to experience everything you possibly can, and making friends with the people you're with comes along with that. And because nobody else is experiencing exactly what you're experiencing in this moment except for these people, it really solidifies the group and just really connects you all. How many people were in your group, and what were some of the ages? So like I said, there were 16 or 17 people in the group, and we ranged a lot. I think the youngest person was Ashlyn, and she was 19. And then our oldest person was Isaac, and he was 28. It was a big range. A lot of us were in the 23 to 27 range, I would say. But even so, it didn't seem like, with Ashlyn and Isaac being such a big age range, you couldn't really tell. Like, it's not like anybody really paid attention to ages. How much time do you get set aside for free time? It kind of depends. So you have the standard itinerary that they show you on the website before you even book, and it outlines everything. Those free times are there. They are exactly as they show in the itinerary. The only thing that changes is when you're getting a little bit closer to the trip and you first make contact with your tour director, they normally plan a bunch of other stuff that you can do if you want to. Have an extra activity excursion for every country that they plan on their own, and that you can do if you want to or you don't have to, and that normally takes place during that free time. With that, we still had so much free time to go thrift shopping when we wanted to. We had to go visit a palace that some of the other kids didn't get to go to. So you do have free time no matter what. Even if you do every single thing they sign you up for, you still have that free time. The other thing is, most things don't go into the night. So even if like you get dinner with the group, you still have the whole night to go out to clubs or to go see a show, or whatever you want to do. You have that flexibility. I'm considering a 30-day trip. Do you think it's worth it, since I'll be spending so much time on the bus or train? Yes, definitely. If you have the time and the money to do one of the 30-day trips, do it without hesitation, because that's pretty rare. Like, not a lot of people have that capability. Plus, when you're in all of these cities going on these trips, you're going nonstop, and getting that time where you're like forced to sit on the bus for 3-4 hours actually is probably gonna be really relaxing, and you're gonna look forward to it because it's giving you a moment to like breathe. and you can feel like, okay, I'm allowed to take a break, I'm allowed to take a nap, I don't have to push myself to make sure that I get the best out of this experience and see as much as I can in the short amount of time that I'm in these places. How are the hostels? They were cool. In Switzerland, we stayed in a prison. It used to be a prison, and they transformed it into a hostel. That room was itty bitty, and there were 4 of us in it. Some of the hostels were really big. The hostel in Venice was one of our best nights on the whole trip. They had a DJ come in and play music. They had this outdoor space, which was awesome. And our tour group, we got the dancing going for the DJ, and then all of a sudden everybody in the hostel was dancing. And we met all these people from Italy, Austria, France. It was so much fun, and we just danced the whole night. So the hostels are really great. Everything was clean. I kept my suitcase in the hostel without a lock, and it was fine. But I know EF recommends you to have a lock in the hostel. But in the rooms, you're only with EF people, even if there's 6 beds, and only 4 of you in there, it's only gonna be EF people. They're never gonna put someone else in the room with you. So there's a comfort there. Is a smallish crossbody purse fine. I'm in between that and a backpack. So the first time I went on a trip with EF, it was after high school, and it was EF Tours. For that, I had a backpack. It was my first time in Europe, so I wanted something a little bit more secure, and it worked out great. This time, fashion was a little bit more of a priority for me, so I just had a handbag, and that worked out really well too. I'll insert a picture so you can see what kind of bag it was, it was a crossbody one, and it was big enough that my camera fit in there, as well as my wallet, passport, like all of my important things, and it didn't feel like someone could easily have taken it from me or pickpocketed me. It was very secure, lots of zippers and stuff, so I think you would be fine with either. I do think a purse is a little bit more fashionable for people that like matters. What kind of shoes did you wear? I was a little bit crazy for this trip. I am a sucker for a white sneaker. I love them so much. You can dress them up, you can dress them down, they're comfy. So I only brought 1 pair of white sneakers, and that was the only shoe. This was also because I wanted more room in my suitcase I wanted to go thrift shopping, so for some clothes and whatnot. So that was a little bit crazy, but it worked out for me. I never regretted it. I was comfortable walking a lot. I was happy with how it looked with like dresses and stuff when I wore them. But obviously, that's not the case for everybody. Don't bring shoes that are uncomfortable normally for you, because you're walking a ton, like so much. So that's the only thing. But if you want to be like a little bit more fashionable, as long as they're comfy and you're not going to regret walking in them for a whole day, then go for it. COVID stuff. This is definitely, I'm getting like a big concern from people who have been asking me questions, and I totally get it. Like, we have no idea what's going on, and things change so fast, especially surrounding traveling and being in other countries. It's a lot to juggle, and it's a lot of unknowns. So this question is, what was it like traveling during COVID? Does EF help with that stuff? So, traveling with COVID ultimately still worth it. However, it does not come without its hiccups. So I was supposed to be going to Paris and London, and then a few months before that, London closes borders to US citizens, so then I was going to Paris and Amsterdam. And 2 days before that trip, Amsterdam closed its borders to US citizens, so the trip was canceled. Literally 2 days, like it was Friday, we were leaving on Sunday, canceled. So EF was really fantastic. They were like, okay, you can go on another trip and like all that money will be moved over. You would just have to pay the difference if we ended up going on a more expensive trip. So basically we took like 2 hours and we're like, okay, we're changing this trip. We're going on this one. It's 2 weeks from now. We were able to change like our paid times off and things like that. And that trip, the Switzerland one we ended up going on, was a little bit more expensive, so we had to pay like $500 more because it was a few days longer. But from there, like, they just did everything for us. It was so easy, it was so nice, and we were still able to have an amazing adventure. With testing stuff and knowing different countries' policies and guidelines, EF sends all of that. They are monitoring that so we don't have to, and they send you all those details so you don't have to be stressed out at all about it, which is amazing. A lot of these countries have forms you have to fill out, where they provide you like QR codes that you have to scan to get into businesses, or you have to physically have a piece of paper with your information filled out. Your tour director sends you all of that on your way to those countries. So like when we were on the bus going from Italy to Austria, we were filling out those QR codes on our phone. She had forms for us to fill out and sign. She did that all for us so that we don't have to deal with that stress, because it's confusing. Like if you go on all these countries' websites and try to figure out like, what am I supposed to be doing to be safe here and to make sure I'm following the rules. Returning to the US, even if you're vaccinated, you still have to test negative. So our tour guide set that all up for us too. She was researching places in Switzerland for us to get tested before we had to fly back into the States. And a lot of places there, Switzerland's really expensive, so it looked like it was gonna cost us money, and she was able to work with EF to find a place that was free. We would get the results back in time, and we were able to use that to fly back, and she did it all for us. We went as a group. It was super easy. So traveling with COVID right now is definitely scary, but being with a group like EF, they just make it so much easier and make it all worthwhile. So if that's the only hesitation you have, don't let that be it. Like, go. They will handle it, they'll monitor it, and if anything goes wrong, they are there to help you travel. They want you to go somewhere, so they'll make adjustments and rearrange however you need to. Did you have to be vaccinated for this trip? Yes, you do have to be vaccinated before you sign up, or when you do sign up, you have to submit proof of vaccination. You cannot go just on a negative COVID test. You have to be vaccinated. Did you feel as though there were any limitations on your trip because of COVID? I don't. The only thing that was like abnormal was going into anywhere. We had to show our vaccine card and our passport to show that, you know, we were vaccinated, and the QR codes and like forms we had to fill out. But it wasn't a limitation and it wasn't a hassle. I still felt like I got basically the same exact experience that I would have in a non-COVID time. The only night where it really caused problems was our last night, or our second to last night in Switzerland. We were trying to all get into this club, and our QR codes weren't working, and they wouldn't accept our passport and our vaccine. They needed all three of them, and so they didn't let us in. But then we tried again at the same club the next night, and everything worked fine. But still, that night when it didn't work, we just went to like an Irish pub. Ironically, in Switzerland, we went to an Irish pub, I think, in every country we went to on this trip. And we still had an awesome time, and it was still a lot of fun. So again, I don't think that COVID is something that should cause you hesitation. I think you should still go, and you're still gonna have a once in a lifetime opportunity. So don't let COVID stop you. All right, guys, I think that is it for the questions. I don't have anything else on my list. If you do have any more questions, leave them in the comments below. I answer pretty immediately, if not, at least by the end of the day. And if there are enough questions, I'll do a part 2 to make sure you guys have all the info and inside scoop on what it's like traveling with EF. And if you do plan on booking a trip, you can use my code UABailey100. That gets you $100 off your trip on top of whatever other deals are going on. It's so nice. It gets you an extra $100. EF is always running special discounts on all the tours. So check it out, use it, and have the time of your life. Like, you will never regret going on an EF tour, I swear. And if anybody wants to go to Ireland for New Year's Eve, this year. My sister and I are going, and it's going to be freaking amazing. I cannot wait to ring in 2023 in Ireland. So let me know where you're traveling, let me know your questions, and subscribe for more videos. Okay, bye guys.